I joined up the actual Rupert Murdoch.
2.
Rob Symes. All right.
1. Hello, welcome to the Square Base Show. I'm your host, Rob, and I'm joined by Mr. Val Heffelfinger as we give you tournament news, tournament information, and we teach you how to play the old world in the best way possible with friends.
Best way possible with friends, Rob. That is the best way possible. It's circular logic. I love it.
Best way possible. Yeah, exactly. I think that one of the best things about friends is you can play Warhammer with them. One of the best things about Warhammer is you can play it with friends.
Best and make friends. Made a friend last night, Rob. I made a friend last night, maybe. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But he seemed nice.
Okay, a real mensch, as they say.
A real mensch, as I said. That's right.
Well,
and Rob rapidly Googled immediately afterwards.
So if you are joining us this video, thank you very much. Please do leave some comments. Let us know how you feel about the episode. One of the things many of the things we can talk about today is tournament results from the weekend. I ran an event. Val is actively running an event. Val's played a game. We got lots of info on that front for you about, people playing these games, which is kind of the point and something me and Val always love. But I'm going to start the show off, okay? And I apologize if you are watching this. Prepare for some expletives. I'm going to start big.
Ahead.
Okay, I'm going to start big. And so I don't want any of you to get offended by what I'm about to say, but where the fuck are the Dwarfs? Where the fuck are the Dwarfs Games Workshop? I'm about to get a sign, a very small sign, and just protest because they're not on pre-order. I was promised them months ago. I am pissed.
Well, you were shown pictures of them months ago. Like, for all we know, they're just going to reappear in AOS 4. Like that's like we've been told nothing, Lebowski. Where are we? We're in Oh shit, we're in Q1. We're in Q1, everybody. Welcome to a new fiscal year. It's a new fiscal year. We did it. We did it,
ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what that means, but
it means the calendar's rolled over at old G Dubs. They had a New Year's party. Someone spiked the punch. Everyone, they did it. All the accountants like grabbed up their various binders and slide rulers, and they're sending up the mountain in Nottingham to the highest rampart in the castle. They're gonna go count some beans. My favorite time of year is coming. That's annual report season. Everybody, get ready.
What I'm most excited about is the annual late night seance that the forecasting department have around this time of year for the year ahead, which does involve, many of you don't know Games Workshop have a child catcher. The streets of Nottingham not safe for the entire of July for young children as they're snapped up and then sacrificed in that ritual. I myself am protecting several small schools.
Bro, do you know how much better they'd be if someone just bought a Ouija board for their friggin' forecasting department? Like, they need a seance. Like, if they had a seance, that would they would elevate massively. Yeah, that would make the annual report.
Absolutely, all chances that they go to ChatGPT and they have never read that ChatGPT will confidently say things that are wrong. That's one of its things. That's one of the very famous things that it does. It gives you an answer that's confident.
It hallucinates.
Yeah,
it hallucinates. That's right.
I could just see some British fella just being like, "Well, you see, it said we would sell 8 million of these. You see here, here's a computer machine. It's so clever. We spent £6 million on the website, but £12 million on the ChatGPT."
I broke up with my girlfriend for it. Said it loved me.
Said it loved me, and we'd sell loads.
Games Workshop changes overnight because someone watches Her.
Just complete change.
What are we even talking about? Oh yeah, it's Q1. So, because the reason I brought that up is I was like, well, it was always a question of whether or not they squeeze it out the door before AOS 4 drops, which should be imminent. It should be the next 2 weeks, I gather. Or has it been pre-ordered already?
What, the Dwarfs?
No, AOS 4.
No, we're thinking July 15th for that. But that does mean which is probably going to be like a 2-week pre-order. So the thing that I've heard is that then
it's got to be June.
It's late to ship. There's like a 2-week delay on it because they have said their warehouse is closed for 2 weeks, which is a bit disappointing. But most importantly, for Square-based and Old World fans, I would like to see those Dwarfs hit the shelves soon. I'm very, very excited personally for that Arcane Journal, and I think it's going to be very fun. So I think it's going to be cool, especially as Dwarves, my anecdotal experience, incredibly popular to put on the tabletop.
I gotta. So I would say then let's not stop holding out hope. If that's real, if they're for some reason going to drop AOS 4 in July rather than right at the beginning of June, I say there's time. This could be the month of Dwarfs. This could be summer of Dwarfs. Who doesn't? What do you think of when you think of the summer? You think of patios. You think of beachwear and very short, grumpy old men. Those are all things I associate with one another. So yeah, I'd say it's possible. I'm going to say Dwarfs pre-release this weekend, coming right at us.
Okay, that's pretty spicy. All right, well, I'm looking forward to that, but I just wanted to jump out because I know a lot of Dwarven fans out there are pissed. Currently, books are scratching, pens furiously noting down more grudges each Sunday. And I'd like to see those Dwarfs hit the tabletop. Other than that, though, for people who are watching, we do have a pretty bumper show of info, although it is going to get down into the crunchy detail of some stuff, so get ready for that. Because Val has been running an online event, and I ran an event this weekend, so lots to talk about there. But before we do, Val, I guess maybe we could start off with, have you got any hobby done this week? What's been going on hobby-wise? Yeah? Or...
Bought some glue.
You bought some glue?
Bought some glue.
All right.
I also played a game. I played a game.
I know.
I played a game. I went to the far reaches of northwestern Toronto, and I visited a workshop. Not a games workshop, but a hobby workshop. I just put that together. I've never put that together. Eric's hobby workshop. I played in the shadow of an 8-foot-tall styrofoam warlord titan, and I played on Eric's hobby workshop. And it was a lot of fun. He's a lovely man. And I met him, of course, at the first ever Square-based Open at the Fuck Bunker. And we said, we should play games. And I said, absolutely. We both have kids. So 6 months later is actually as if that's basically like we like hung out. We said we were going to hang out. And like 6 month gap there is like basically hanging out 5 minutes later for us. So that's fantastic. We found time. And it was awesome.
Yeah, so if you don't know, Eric's Hobby Workshop YouTube channel, where he does like a lot of hobby stuff, obviously as the name implies, but probably the thing, especially if you're an Old World fan, he collects a lot of Old World minis, especially like the older sculpts, but has done this incredible series for any Full Tilt fans on building a full tilt board, and has also done a Full Tilt battle report, all of which is just absolutely 11 out of 10 content. Mr. Val, you played a battle report, a live battle report.
Played well, not a lot. I played in a battle report with him.
Okay, so it was recorded.
Indeed. It was it's very old school throwback handy cam. This is definitely his passion project because he's got like a legitimate channel.
Yeah.
So Eric's Hobby Workshop is like it's big time. I was in the big time here. But he's got. You know what? I'm collecting them. I mean, I am every week here on the Honest Wargamer Network. That is the biggest of times. It was the best of times. It was the biggest of times. It was Rob's times, all the times.
But
anyway. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah, so Eric's Hobby Battle Reports is the name of the channel that it will be appearing on. But yeah, like his bread and butter are like really cool. He's sort of like Zorpazorp, like he specializes, I think, originally in like really awesome terrain builds, which showed so brilliantly. Like he was, as we were playing, like the only thing he cared about was whether or not like the tree looked good. He'd be like, "Hey, you move that shrub back up there. You like knocked over one of the tree things." I'm like, yeah, no problem. His wife came. I met his lovely wife, and his wife came in, and she was like, "Oh, the terrain looks great." And I was like, "These guys love their terrain. Awesome. It does look good." And like a number of times, we both stepped back, as anyone playing Old World should do as often as possible, especially if you've gotten to that place where you have painted terrain, painted models, like everything looks good. Just step back and be like, this is awesome. Oh, this looks cool as shit. We had like a battle in a forest, or he had a black coach versus my black orc on Wyvern. That was really cinematic and awesome. We're both gross vapors, so we like some mist on there. So there's like some foggy mist. It was sick. And then anyway, so yeah, we played that game. We finished it. High-fived. I went home and then got back to work organizing the SBOT, which is the terrible acronym that seems to be catching on. Kids love the SBOT.
The SBOT. Okay, so for friends and family out there, could you give us what the SBOT is, please? We have also already talked about this on previous shows, but for this show, what is the SBOT?
For this show, the SBOT is our first ever square-based online tournament, taking place as our second perk for Patreon members, aside from, of course, seeing us comment in the Discord, our private Discord, every now and again, which is already pretty awesome. All right, don't get too up and at 'em about this, but we unveiled this. This is something I've wanted to do since we first started.
Since you found Warhol, really?
Yeah, since I discovered Warhol and also sexy Hugo, which is immortalized in my pack for the Squarebase Online Tournament. Squarebase Online Tournament player pack, a Squarebase joint featuring sexy Hugo from Warhol.eu and our incredible patrons.
Sexy Hugo.
And Hugo, of course, he's the lead developer of Warhol, which is a great platform for playing war games, specifically Old World and Ninth Age online. And so we scraped it together. The premise of the tournament is to just get people playing. It's a pretty breakneck pace. We're doing one game a week. The exhibition round has just kicked off. It's going to run from now until, I believe, June 14th. And in order to play in the actual tournament, you have to hit the lofty bar, and this is hard in online tournaments, of actually playing a game. So that's basically the bar. So like the exhibition round is so that people learn how to use Warhol, maybe even learn how to play Warhammer, the Old World online. We have assigned one matchup to everyone who's in the tournament so far. And all you got to do is get one match in, and then you can play as many as you want. And then further wins or games that you accumulate will help with the seeding later on. So we'll take basically how many points you score, and we'll use that to seed the event. So there's a little bit of an incentive to get more games in. But we haven't really needed that, because yesterday I was noticing up to 2, sometimes 3 games popping off immediately in all of the various new channels I created to play these games. People seem to be having fun already, which is really wonderful. I'm like super pleased. We got over 90 people signed up for the exhibition round. I imagine not everyone will make it to the beginning of the tournament, but who knows? Maybe we'll have a pretty high success rate. Should be fun. Even Rob's playing. Rob's got a matchup.
I've got a matchup. I'm excited. I don't know who you are out there, but I'm ready to bet. I'm ready to do battle, which is quite fun. Still a little undecided. Chaos Dwarfs. I don't love online play, and this is not to decry from SBOT. I don't personally like, and I think that it's actually really fun that you and me have got this duality on the show, where I ran like an in-person. I mean, you also played an in-person game, so you're really adding. Like, it's not just a duality. You're adding to your strings. I am a one-string bow man of miniatures on a table, but. The thing that's quite exciting for me is to just be able to play with an army that I haven't produced any models for. So I don't know whether to go for ogres, because I do want to really print some, because I've got some amazing sculpts for them, and I just like ogres. Or if I just go for my Chaos Dwarf, Chaos Dwarf, mainly because the list that I wrote for my Chaos Dwarfs is really like a one-bang win list. It's either going to roll shit hot, or I can just wrap it up in an hour. I'm like, look, I've not killed you, so this is great. Let's finish this up. This is a win for you. I mean, that is so like that is one of the benefits. So the exhibition round, you can iterate your list. So like that's one of the other things is that you can test things out. You can try a couple different looks. Of course, if you only have time for one match, that's fine. You can switch up your list all you want. So like the final list deadline really isn't until June 15th. So like the Saturday before we start the official round. So you got some room to experiment here, Rob, if you like.
And like our patron saint Hugo says, it is not a replacement for the tabletop, but a mere placebo. And it does, I think, a really good job of replicating the sensation. Because you have yet to even boot. Well, no, you must have at least logged into Warhol, because I saw you did enter in a Warhol username. So I think you have a Warhol account.
I think that I don't want to take away from what it is. Sorry, I just definitely want to tell you that. I don't want to take away the fact that I think actually online play is brilliant. It means you and me could play some games, and I've talked about this a lot. So just because it doesn't necessarily gel and vibe with me, mainly because I spend a lot of my time at a computer, and so miniatures away from a computer is kind of my positive. But I know people who love they're like, any minute they're like, oh, you got 5 minutes, we'll just deploy, and you're like, I don't know. Some people love
can get
that.
there,
and I think I think it's really healthy. I think it's really healthy.
I think what's cool too is that, like, I think because of the fact that we're events guys, we're tournament guys. It doesn't mean that we're like the best at tournaments, but we love tournaments. And we love playing the game as well as we possibly can. I know in playing Smirk was my first round matchup yesterday. Like that, I played a person who was not bringing this was not what I would call a gimme list. It was a tough list. So I'm really curious to see that when this, when the curtain is drawn back on anyone who actually enters into the tournament, what a meta without what do you call it? The construction meta. So like the actual need to build the models, the production meta. There you go. Without the absolute need to actually build everything, and just people existing in a complete thought experiment of what can I do with this rule set. I'm curious to see how different those lists are from the tabletop. For example, that's why I'd love for you to play Dwarfs, some Chaos Dwarfs, because you could very easily put your original fever dream idea of a list, which was a billion hobgoblins and gribblies on the table, and just see how that feels, how it plays, without having to go to the level of painting 100 of them and then discovering, wait, this was a bad idea. Or maybe it's an amazing idea, and now you're jacked up and you're ready, and you go and now I'm painting my 100 hobgoblins because this is awesome. So that's why I really do like it, and I'm really curious to see how different the online community pans out to be, and it already exists out there in different places. But I'm very curious to see what a square-based tournament looks like, free of miniature constraints. Should be interesting.
I think based on my experience of running, what am I up to? Six Old World events now.
Yes, sir.
I would say that even this weekend, even though we had a couple of people, repeat people who'd come back, which is just so great to see them again. Still new people, their first GT, their first event in a while, their first event in years, and still they were learning stuff. Oh, I can do an assailment in every turn. Oh, okay. Oh, I can't dispel if I'm in combat. Okay. I honestly think that getting those interactions, whether it's on the table or online, helps to solidify some of the rule information in your head. It's a learn by doing process. I really do think that. And I think that was really positive. But I would still say as well that I'd expect there to be many mistakes, and everyone in the SBOT to just be very comfortable that there still will be a lot of mistakes. I would feel that it's probably going to be a lot of people's first few games. There's some people. So on the enrollment form, we were asking. Actually, I will scroll down a little bit and get this data for you. So I had basically four player ability tiers, and there's roughly 100 people. So we have about 15 out of the 100, so 15% of the players have never played a game but are enthusiastic. And then we have another 15% or so who've played a few games but mostly argue about rules on Reddit. So a third of the event are people who are pretty green as far as actually getting on the tabletop, which is fantastic. That is I'm so happy these people are jumping in. And then outside of that, about another third have attended an event already and play as much as they can. And then a third that have played enough that they feel that they know the rules, but, haven't been playing a ton. So
that to me is a wonderful mix. Probably also reflects in a lot of ways real life metas too. That feels about the same mix of players, that I feel like I encounter when I'm at a GT. About a third of them are like trying as hard as they can, playing as much as they can. A third are competent, but get out when they can. And then a third are just like, here we go, let's give this a shot. And I'd say, like, for me, what's super fun is like leading up to when I was coming over to the UK. That was the last time I was really playing games in Warhol. Is that it becomes this like really nice virtuous cycle where I was like really, really excited to get, like you said, like, oh, we got 5 minutes, we can just deploy. Like I was like super jacked about it. I was super annoying and evangelical about how cool this platform was, but it was because I was also really excited to go like actually play.
Yeah.
And so like those two things for me have worked really well hand in hand. And it's nice that we've got this going. There's some awesome events coming up in my local scene that I get to go do. By the way, X Planet Games, June 15th. I'm going to be there in Mississauga. If you're in the GTA or the GTHA or the greater region.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I believe there's still tickets. I believe Eric from Eric Hobby Workshop might be coming because he has my army and he needs to give it back.
Way.
At X Planet, live in person, he'll do an autograph session immediately before. I will be charging $5 for selfies with him. So yeah, like come on out if you can, because I think there's like 10 tickets sold for it. So there's still lots of room. Anyway, and then of course Capital City Bloodbath, my personal favorite, CCBB, my personal favorite not run by us event in the world. And that one's going to be at the end of August. So I've got some events lined up. I got a fake event, like I got a virtual event. Like life is good. Like I'm feeling engaged again. There were a couple months there after my trip where I was loving hanging out and talking with you about stuff, but not actually getting out, mixing it up. So I'm back, baby.
Yeah, I get mixing it up is a kind of interesting challenge as well. And I think one of the things that I've seen from the people over the weekends is people being like, look, I learned a lot from those games, and actually before I can mix it up again, I need to go back to the drawing board, build, paint, put some stuff out on the table. And a constant conversation I've had over the past few weekends as well. And I've been saying this religiously on the show as well. It's still so early. It's still, yes. Yeah, like me and Val, yes, we're like content creators. We work like I work it full time, but like we both work a lot. Val loves this game. I love this game. So like most of our mindset is taken up on it, but actually building and painting an army. And I spoke to my friend Jacob last night, and he was saying, like people didn't turn up to this with legacy stuff. They didn't put the base sizes out until like the fucking week of. So people couldn't even be getting like, do you know what I mean? People couldn't be getting stuff ahead, like months ahead or anything like that. So
yeah, I forgot about that shit, man. Why you got to bring that up? Because we were telling people what the base sizes were for like 8 months, and everyone's like, "No, you're idiots." And we were like, "No, it's gonna be 30 millimeters, man. Like it's 30. That's what it is, guys. You don't have to be mad at us. It's 30 millimeters." Yeah, but love of God.
I know, but it's early, so like just be conscious of that. I think people need to be like, and the fact that so many events have already popped off, more events are booked in, and I think we're really going to start to see those numbers creep up over time, and yeah, just explode. There's an event. I've got an event coming up this weekend, and then at the same time, a bunch of the lads who came to my original events are now running their own event in London at the Bad Moon Cafe.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, the Bad Moon Cafe!
Yeah, they're using the terrain cards. They're using the terrain pack. So that's cool. Here in Canada, by the way, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but there's a league in Nova Scotia. They printed off all of the terrain cards. They're using the terrain pack and for their league. So yeah, it's really cool to see that we're using the terrain pack for the SBOT as well. Although I will lodge a request to not make all woods dangerous terrain, because too many gobos are dying for no reason. You don't ever have to go through it. Don't go through it.
Well, long exhale. It's all right. We'll review things. I promised that we won't review anything until fiscal Q2. That's also known as September. We'll take a hard look at our pack, because I don't want to get. So there's a popular term out there, Rob. I don't know if you've heard it before. It's called
Oh.
It's called, I would also say, interesting how we both are going different places here.
Oh.
Yes, knee jerk is one, but there's also gaslighting.
Okay.
Gaslighting. It's apparently a problem.
Right.
And I think we do need to own up to that. Yes, there are lots of people who have not yet experienced the joy of having a zombie vampire with a vampire lord on its back eat their entire army. But that does happen. And there are things, I think, in this game that are starting to become obviously, question. We're hoping that maybe, our boy JTY is watching from on high, and we'll actually, Pershaw, gaslighting isn't real. You just made it up because you're fucking crazy. Thank you, Pershaw. I appreciate that.
That's legal advice.
But so I don't want to gaslight people who are right now a little miserable about the meta. But I literally, after my no spoilers, but after my game against Eric's Hobby Workshop, his name is just Eric. I don't have to always call him Eric. His last name actually isn't Hobby Workshop. But after that game, in my head, I'm like, man, I have to stop pretending that I've got enough to deal with dragons, because I have been pretending that I have enough to deal with dragons, and I don't. You know what I mean? And I don't have the skill yet to deal with them. It's a very hard thing to deal with. Or yesterday, I played against Smirk, and first time I've actually confronted the Screamer list, and it was, I had a great time, but am I closer to knowing how to actually counter and deal with that? Probably not that much.
Shall we? Do you want to go through? We might as well go through this now, right?
Well, I'm also we've been talking a lot about me, Rob, but I don't want to. I don't want to skip right ahead, because also you're cool, and I do want to ask you before we dive in. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks very much. I picked up very excitedly. I haven't really been messing around with my Slaves to Darkness, Warriors of Chaos list much. But I have been toying with the idea in this kind of reinvention of what Warriors, or what I thought Warriors are going to be. If you've been on this journey with me, I felt like Warriors should be Warriors, and it turns out Warriors are pretty shit. Although shout out this weekend, actually, I got a lot of time and love for this, so I really want to talk about this. So it was, let me just make sure I got this right. I think it was Alex Smith. Who was playing Warriors of Chaos this weekend. And he ran a really fun list, which was, let me just get this right. I think it was the 20 chosen Chaos Warriors, 507 points. Mark of Khorne drilled full plate, right? With the Razor Standard. Okay.
Were they flying with the wizard in it?
Additional hand weapons. They weren't flying they were flying. That was the point. Right, so he was fun. Yeah. So he's taking this big block of dudes. They've got 2 attacks each because they're chosen, a 3rd attack because of Khorne, a 4th attack because of the extra hand weapon. They get AP thanks to the Razor Standard, sorry, and then he's just yeeting them up the board, and then making them deal with them. Didn't win every game, of course, but I like that someone was still sticking with the idea of Warriors. But for me, chosen knights, trash tier, stick them in the bin, kick them to the curb. Get them out of the house. Yeah, they're not welcome back. Let's divorce them. So I've been messing around with other stuff, and I picked up some of the new Dark Oath models because I'm really excited about running a couple of units of 5-person Cav Mark of Khorne as well. So Marauder Cav, Mark of Khorne, and just using them as these little line busters, because they've got such a long charge range. So maybe mixing them up with some MSU ogres with great weapons as well, a bit of strike last aura, and then just kind of bam, I'm in. I've got all these extra attacks. That's quite fun. Or maybe I probably will never change spell lore, but Frenzy Hatred's also pretty good on the Marauders as well. Maybe a 5, maybe a 6, keep them a little bit, give them a bit of speed. I think that's really fun.
I really like the fire and forget Khorne concept that you have, where you just get minimum units, 1 rank. They're just diving in there like little missiles, dealing with other little missiles. Because there's definitely, aside from a few armies, I feel like, and interesting, I heard the Dwellers Below kind of complaining that the fact that Rule of 3/6 has kind of limited the MSU meta, which I think is a really good thing, because as bad as dragons are, better than just everyone having to run tiny units. But a counter to like big unkillable things, of course, is having too many things to kill, right? And so like that's why I really love your concepts around like little units of corn, frenzied mother suckers with, you know, extra attacks, because again buckets of attacks not really a thing in old world.
Not really a thing.
So where you can get it, it's rare and it's rare, unexpected, and surprising.
Yeah, like I
like it a lot.
I saw some people with trolls at club on Thursday, and you know someone would charge in, kill a troll, and then those 2 trolls would be swinging back. You'd be like, actually, that's a lot of attacks.
Yeah, 6 attacks coming back. What?
Yeah, that's a lot. Like, you know, like especially when infantry normally 1 attack, the front rank is wiped. You know, that's why chariots, you know, perceived to be good. But I can understand your point. So that's about as much hobby.
Do you have a tracking number?
For?
Or do we have a graphic created for following the journey of your Chaos Dwarves back to you?
Oh, Chaos Dwarves on the way.
On the way.
I
want like a Santa. I want one of those like Santa radars, Father Christmas radars from like that the kids like watching the presents come across the ocean.
Yeah.
As Santa visits every single child in the world.
Every child gets a Chaos Dwarf. Perfect.
You have enough.
Yeah.
You have enough.
That would be perfect. Yeah.
So when will they return? Because I want to see an unboxing. I want to see the emotion. I want to see the emotion on your face.
I don't know when they're going to return. Actually,
you should check that up. I'm surprised you're not refreshing it. Give me the tracking number, and I will refresh for you and give you the hype.
Tag me in, Coach.
This is my.
I've got the tracking number, chat. I've got the tracking number, and he sent it out on Tuesday, so who knows? I'll get that sent over to you. But yes, Chaos Dwarfs are on the return, which I'm excited about. So yeah, personal hobby, not much, but obviously ran an event this weekend, which was cool. We had a bit of a stunning weekend, fully sold out. But between Monday and Saturday, and we fully sell out at 24 tickets, between Monday and Saturday, 8 drops.
No.
8, a third of the field. You know, so congratulations to all the players that did play, because you know they ended up being top 2/3 immediately, so they should be really proud of themselves. But you know, like, I mean, I don't mind. Like, it's kind of one of those awkward things where I think I could have resold those tickets if it had been earlier. But honestly, I really understand that people have stuff that comes up. Like, and I don't.
And sometimes, like the linchpin in the group is the one who has something that comes up, and then suddenly a big chunk of people can't make it because they were the driver and stuff like that, right? Like, I don't know specifically here, but like that can have a cascading effect on tournament attendance.
Yeah, of course. There's some big major things that happen in people's lives. So I'm never like hateful about it. I'm just like, it's fine. I understand, but it's just a bit like, oh, not sold out. That's just one of those things that, you know, it's nice being, maybe that's the old club promoter in me. I like being sold out. Like, I never thought I'd done my job until it was 1 in, 1 out. And they were like, that's it. So anyway, but we had
1 in, 1 out Rob Symes.
That's what they call me. But we had 16 people play, which was really, really fun at the event, and we played.
It was pretty good. I mean, it's not 90, but you know,
it's not 90, good. No. But these people exist. Like
Smirk is real, okay? He's real and he's spectacular, and I played him last night.
When can we get the AIs to play each other? We can all just watch. Like,
dude, that was an incredible way to ADHD trigger me. That was an incredible like day-long chat in the Square-based general chat about like some genuine like future brain scientist people talking about how you would model a game of Old World. I love it when people take their very expensive hard-earned skills and apply it to like Warhammer. But anyway, so like that, if you want to know the answer to that question, just scroll up in the general tab, because it is fundamentally answered how we can get AI to play Old World. Continuing,
which is what it should be doing. Like then I can just go back to mining or something, you know, like, you know, painted walls.
Very rapidly, all I know is the conversation devolved to, well, what we actually need is like two entities just playing millions of games against one another. I was like, Sick.
Yeah, fun. All right, okay.
All right, back to it.
Yeah, so we had 16 players play, which is cool. We ran the pretty standard format, which we run now, which is 3 of the games are open battle, and then I choose 2 of the other games to be Border War and the Tower. And I don't know if I'm going to mix it up anytime soon. If I'm being honest, the only thing I would potentially do is to make it so that there's 2 Border Wars. Because I think Border War's a sick mission. That's all I'm going to say. So I don't really love the other missions. I'm tempted to add them into the mix and start doing the full 5. But for now... Go on.
Have you had a chance to check out the SBOT pack / the modified missions from the Capital City Bloodbath pack?
I have seen the Capital City Bloodbath pack, but I didn't read how you translated that in.
Yeah, so I basically lifted meeting engagement, which makes it less random. So like you identify a quarter of your army to bring on. Mm-hmm. And then and by the way, this is our friends at Capital City Bloodbath who made these changes. So there's that one. And also flank attack, honestly, I think it's kind of cool. I haven't played it yet, but that's the one where you determine a third of your army and it goes to one side or the other of your main force. I don't think that one's too harsh. Like basically you don't want like the random bullshit to upset the game. So I don't know. I feel like there's 5 missions here that aren't random bullshit, and 2 of them are ones that I think you haven't messed with yet, and maybe worth a look.
Yeah, at the moment, I honestly feel like still based on this event kind of reinforced my feelings. I think the first 2 events that we ran, the people that were there were so like at the very spear tip of like, you know, we've consumed all media on this subject. I've built and painted the army before it was even released. I know every single, like they were like, you know,
fired up.
They were super fired up. And now
they were lining up for the iPhone of old world. Yes. In the rain.
Right.
Ready to go.
Yeah. And so now I feel like I'm getting more of those, you know, I finally got the army ready. I'm back. Nice. Oh, I've managed to convince my friend to come. Shout out to Hormis who bought Andrew. Andrew was fantastic, and Hormis is great. So, like, he's like, I brought my friend, you know. And I think, you know, I absolutely adored Richard Manclow. Actually, probably shouldn't say his last name. And his partner Sophie. They came, and I accidentally ran into him at UK Games Expo on the Friday, and he was like, signed up for the event, Rob. We signed up for it months ago, and then. Don't know if you know this, but it actually takes ages to get an army ready. I was like, yes. I was like, yeah, but yeah. And he was like, we were just speed getting it ready. He's like, it's been a really tough few months, and I was like, I understand exactly your feeling.
Like if you're like a normal person trying to get an army, even just like slap chopped and together. Like, I mean, I painted I painted a unit of 19 Black Orcs. A wyvern, like 2 wyverns and a character, and it was like it was a goddamn nightmare. Like it was a lot of work, and I had to be very focused on, and I had to like be like, no, I can't hang out, guys, or I can't do stuff with you, wife. I gotta go paint some stuff. And I didn't know that's what people have to do all the time, because I just buy used minis that are already painted. And so yes.
I think people need to hear that.
Everyone who are finally getting up there, getting their like, it is hard work and like consistent work. Like you have to show up consistently, like or just like gorge it like in like a crunch time thing. However you get it done, it's just there's no way around it. It takes time, like butt in chair time to get things ready to play. So kudos to everyone who's got their shit together for Rob's events.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. And I think that's something we should keep reminding people. If you have got some stuff at the beginning, you know, some 3D print stuff, some stuff online, and then, you know, past couple of weeks, you've just kind of said to yourself, I don't know, and you've watched some videos, you've watched some bat reps, and, you know, pick that paintbrush up again. Get that started. You will have no better time than playing online with Val and doing some SBOTs, or going to an event, somewhere in the world, that is where the fun is had. That's what you're doing all the work for.
Yeah.
Get that work done. You need to keep reminding people of that. I really do think that. Anyway, so we had 16 people at the event, which is cool. Ran it like we always did, which is nice. We had an amazing time Saturday night. Went out for some food with a couple of the crew, which was really, really fun. It was quieter, and what was really nice was that separated people to downstairs and upstairs, and people were just vibing, and it just felt honestly, from like the perspective of, obviously I like to sell out, that sucked, but from the other side it feels more friendly. People would just get in because we have big comfy chairs at the arena. People would just get in people get in a big comfy chairs and just start yammering. And honestly, I feel like everyone just became mates, and it was like very clubby. Does that make sense? Yeah, I can't really be asked for big events anymore, to be honest, unless they're online, of course.
I can't be asked for. Well, I don't know. We're still determining this. We're still determining. We're for the record, guys, behind the scenes right now. We're figuring out what's going on with the Las Vegas Open. I'm just gonna out and out say that, because you don't get much bigger than that, Rob.
It's true.
It's a big one.
It's true.
But Rob and I are philosophically both on the same stage, which is like there's enough people playing these games now that like the reason why I would like to travel straight up is to go see you, and I go see you in your hometown in the United Kingdom, or we could both travel to the desert into some sort of apocalyptic wasteland. I don't know. Yeah, we got to figure out what we're doing. But I like the large events thing. I love the GT size. 30 like 5 rounds, enough to sink your teeth into. But like we're coming from a world of AOS and 40K where if it's not 100 people, like who gives a shit? It's like, well, also like who gives a shit? Like you don't get to meet that whole 100 people. You don't get to play all those people. You don't get that camaraderie that Rob was just describing when you go to those massive events.
I think it's toxic as fuck. Like I've really turned the corner on it. I think someone's going to say to me, "No, you got to understand, like the spectacle, everyone there," and I'm like, "Nah." Like a couple of guys were at my club. This is a side note. They were at my club on Thursday, and they were playing 40K, and they were both like, "This is not to dunk on 40K, by the way," and they were both like, why did you not run 40K events? I was like, I tried. No one bought tickets. I live in Nottingham city centre. I got some really nice tables, some really nice boards. It was the beginning of the 10th edition. Everyone should have been frothy. No one bought a ticket. And he was like, that's crazy. And he's like, just make sure you don't run it at the same weekend as the majors. And I was like, why? And he's like, well, that's when everyone goes. And I'm like, why does everyone go there? He's like, well, for the points. And I was like, okay. Then why would you come here? And he was like, I don't know.
Exactly.
Exactly. like the culture has become about the points and the terrible terrain and the large people. And honestly, I think Old World more than anything, based on the cool armies I've seen every single week and the people, that's my experience, my anecdotal experience with the conversation I had at the weekend. That was my experience. Whereas Old World has not felt like that. People have just turned up with armies that they've loved, that they've wanted to produce, they've wanted to play. They've got backstories to it. They're weird faction zealots. They're like, this is the only army I play. That kind of that vibe. And that's been my experience of it so far, which I think is really positive, to be honest. Yeah,
and I think... So I was a massive proponent of ITC points and a ladder and ranking, because you can't deny that what it does do is it gets people out. It that extra incentive to go out and level up and all that kind of stuff. That's clear psychology. It works as far as building a scene is concerned. But I don't, again, returning to our word of the day, gaslighting, I can't deny that there are trade-offs to that, right? There are things that are created in a meta that are driven by, going out and raising up your gamer score somehow, right? And it also incentivizes that whole scene was designed to incentivize people to go to big events at the time, mostly run by Frontline Gaming, and get people out and encourage other people to run big events. And so it is biased towards big events. I don't think you need to have a ladder a ranking algorithm that is so focused on large events. I think you can, if we were more focused on opponent quality, which has been something out there in the ether in all of these game systems for a while, maybe we could have a world where what matters is not the size of your field, but the quality of the players. And then we could have a whole different scenario where you could go to your local RTT, and if you got some real, if there could just be that one guy, that one grandmaster at that event, and like that's the draw, and like you got to go to that church local in like northern Scotland to like play the like best dwarf player on the planet,
or Norwich,
or
the place.
You know what I mean?
Hates.
So like I think there's a chance here, because I do crave, and I actually even in 40K I kind of miss the days of chasing points and like watching the faction stats and like watching people going up and down those boards. I miss those days a little bit. It was fun to talk about. It was fun to participate in. It was exciting. The year had like a vibe to it. But I think we have a chance with Old World in time to maybe invent something that, I don't know, scratches the itch, but maybe in a better way. Right?
Well, yeah. I like I've said, it's a really new scene, and I think like I'd love to do stats. We did a stat show the other day. I said that like lots of the stuff that's out there is nonsense, and I think right now maybe I'm older. I don't know. I just feel like I'm seeing people enjoy playing with their armies, have good competitive experiences, and has been really good. So I've enjoyed that. That's been really fun. Speaking of which is cool. If you'd like to see what a match looks like, I should have mentioned this much earlier in the show, but we're here now. If you'd like to see what a match looks like, I'm going to include in the pinned comment on YouTube and in the show notes in the podcast a link to a YouTube video. So I've been working on this for several years. Val will know this, but the idea is that when we host an event, I should be able to either live stream the events or record the events. That's what the venue is set up to do. So shout out to Oscar for helping me out, my Peruvian brother. So me and Oscar set up the recording, and we were able to record 2 different games over the course of the weekend, which both games feature the winner of the event. So Matt with his Tomb Kings, he was playing Mortuary Cults. So I'm going to put one video up now for free for everyone. I'd like everyone to know that while I don't think it's rough, the audio is really good, the camera quality is really good. There isn't any overlays, there isn't any. It's just a pure 2.5-hour game recording of both players. You hear them in full audio. There's no input from me, talking about their game, rolling the dice. Bosh, like with some like there's a top down, there's a side camera, there's a PTZ, so there's some zoomed in shots, there's player cameras, so there's like a good mix of stuff. And really what I'm asking is, so I'm going to put that up for free, and the rest forever will ever be on Patreon, and just because it requires a lot of man hours and a lot of equipment to do that, so pay me or don't, I don't care. Whatever. I'd love to know what you think of it, like, and maybe what little bits I could potentially add to it in the future that isn't too much. I think long term, I think it would be good to edit those down into maybe more digestible formats. But that's an incredible amount of work. I'd like to be clear. That's an incredible amount of work. But
I also want to be super clear that like even just. So like when I got into live streaming, Rob was the vanguard on this, and then I was like, it can't be that hard. It is. If you get to the place where you are dangling a camera above a table and accurately recording that game in focus with player or other audio that works, you have achieved a tier that I struggled to meet for a long time. And so like the amount of effort that goes into documenting or recording a quality match or a quality game, even just like you said, you kind of talked it down, but I think with high quality player mics, with good production, the effort and time, even once you've made, and Rob has made the investment on the equipment and the hard won lessons on how to actually do it technically, there's a lot of effort that goes in there, even to turn it on, which is basically what you've done. You've gone back to your equipment and the setup that you had, and you've turned on the recordings. And I think the idea that you have is, I think, something that we both ran into when pouring our guts into this, was that the return for doing that effort wasn't necessarily there. But I also think that it's a lot of fun to do, but B, like there needs to be a model where these games, again, this is a game in your local event, but it's still 2 players trying hard to win a game of Old World by the rules. This is not like a battle report on Eric's Hobby Workshop or Mountain Minis or whatever. These are two gamers playing with beautiful armies. And I think there's tremendous amount of value with that, but it's a much smaller group that would value this type of view of content than, say, the like more like my dudes are fighting your dudes type battle reports. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like all I'm trying to say is that like when I realized what you were up to, I am super excited because I think this is a potentially good way to have this content and have it supported by people who want it. And so that's why I think, please, by all means, go check out this version, see the free thing, because if it is something that there's enough people out there who want it, doesn't have to be a ton of people, just enough to make it worthwhile. Robbo over here can just literally turn on the spigot, and there will be a mountain of high quality games between good folks that you can see. And so yeah, check it out, give feedback, and Robbo's very good at this.
Yeah, so because I've got an event this weekend, so now I'm scrambling because it was one of those things. I always say I'm just racing just ahead of the train that's trying to run me over, which is my job load. and on like kind of like Saturday when I realized I didn't need a spare player, me and Oscar, I was like, Oscar, let's just fucking set up the camera because like, you know, there was a table spare because people dropped out. So it's this kind of perfect storm. We spent one of the rounds doing it. We recorded round 3. Then I kind of snuck away and I did round 5, which was the final match, but the one you can watch for free is High Elves versus, played by Alex, really well, I think, against the Tomb King Mortuary cult, which is really good. And Matt, who won the event, eventually, I'll read the list out to you in a second. He's like an Age of Sigmar Worlds player for Age of Sigmar, like plays in the Welsh team, has played internationally. He's one of the most successful Age of Sigmar players actually in the world and has been for 2 years running because I keep track of stats like that. So you're talking like a pretty high-end play. This is only his second event, and he also got a 5-0 at our event as well. So he broke that barrier. Which was super nice. And his final game, which I also recorded, which I'm going to put on Patreon only, it was up against Jack with his absolutely Jack Allen. Do you remember with his Empire gunline list? But he went even more gunliney, which is absolutely great. And he had a savage game.
So maybe I have to upgrade my Patreon tier because last week, I think it was last week, literally I shouted out in the void, I think people need to stop, if they like guns, they should stop pussyfooting around and bring all of the guns. And this person brought literally all of the guns. I think they probably did exactly what I wanted to do, which is go into your list building feature of choice, put all of the guns in your list, and see what comes out. And that looks like this list.
Yeah, so I'll read Jack's list out, and Jack didn't win, spoiler, but there we go. Jack ran a Wizard level 4 on foot with Ruby Ring and a 2 Power Scrolls, with an Empire Captain, an Empire Engineer with Long Rifle, an Empire Engineer with Long Rifle, an Empire Engineer with Long Rifle. Then he ran 10 State Missile Troops, 10 State Missile Troops, 10 State Missile Troops, all with crossbows, 10 Free Company Militia, 10 Free Company Militia. So the thing that he told me that skirmishers, but also what he was trying to do was he was trying to outdrop his opponent. So that his opponent
you can counter deploy them. Yeah.
So you can counter deploy them. Exactly. Then 6 archers, 6 archers, 6 archers with warbows, 6 outriders, 6 outriders, 6 outriders, repeater handguns, 3 great cannons.
Hell yeah.
2 hellblasters.
Hell yeah.
Now, he did lose 2 games. One was against Andrew, and I actually can't say what Andrew does for work, but Andrew is like absolutely big brains and played an amazing kind of like 150-point differential Warriors of Chaos versus Jack's gun line, where he just used the terrain to his advantage, kept popping out, dropping a template, popping back, picking up some points, which was really good. Yeah, it was really fun.
I just want to shout out, like, I want to load this game. I want to load this list up. Yeah, I want to build my Snowflake version of this, and I want to play with it because, first of all, yes, it's a lot of guns. I would struggle to call this a gun line because he's making use of archers and Free Company Militia to be proper skirmishers out in front of the army, so not blocking line of sight, but gumming things up. He brought the only wizard that he's got here is an illusion control wizard, so that you can drop your crystal column down. You can do your miasmic mirage, try and control things. Very similar to something that I wish I could do with orcs and goblins. I have no idea if this is a sustainable long-term list. But like, it's definitely interactive in the sense that he's going to have things that you have to deal with in your face, and he's going to make it hard to get to the squishy insides. And I would love to see that game and see how he played it on the table.
Well, yeah. So that is the other game that I recorded, which is cool. And the reason eventually maybe I'd like to edit the games down. But what happened was my friend Dom was like, I never get to hear people playing a tournament game. I'd like to say before anything else, if you said to me, "Hey Rob, here's a job per year." Some amount of money where you would have to play Old World with two different armies a week and get 100% of the rules right, I'd tell you I probably couldn't do that. I don't think anyone can do that. Like, I'd like to be clear.
It's a very good insight that Rob's about to drop here.
So
yes.
to all the BatRep channels who make content about that, I was hired by Games Workshop. They hired me to make video content about gaming. Having spent weeks doing some battle reports inside Games Workshop, this is years before their current ones. This is 8 years ago. I came up with the conclusion that it just made no mechanical, financial, or like resource sense. And the best way to do it would be to get two people who have spent dozens of hours on their individual armies to play a game and then stream that or record that, which is where live streaming events for Games Workshop came from, stuff myself, because it's just more efficient. They understand those armies better than I ever could as a battle reporter. That's meant with respect to battle reporters and love to battle reporters. I think that I could never do it. Maybe they can, I don't know, but I couldn't, is the important part. So my friend Dom was like, yeah, I just want to hear two people play a game for 3 hours. And I was like, I don't think a lot of people want to do that, but I will record it and we'll see what it looks like. So that's up there. And I want you to know it's not a thrilling game, bud. It's really not. You got Matt constantly some of the plays Matt makes early in that individual game with his Tomb Kings, just immediately moves up his dragons, crystal columns right in front of the cannon straight away, then reserve moves, and then immediately Jack's like, well, I'm fucked. It's not a fun game, but it is a good game, and I don't know
illustrative.
Yeah, it's illustrative. I don't really know how to explain that to people, right? What's the pitch? Because it sounds shit. Watch two people miserable. They weren't miserable. They were both great.
Well, there's some minimum tiers that we can do to help with that. One, just some chapter headings so that people can scrub and see what happens in the game. Like, that's going to help. But I think really what we're getting to right now is that there's a tier of battle report content out there that is people having fun playing Old World, and that is a great tier. And that speaks to a lot of the people who are out there who just like to get their guys on the table, play someone with a similar mindset, and that's where they want it. That's how they want to go. There's another tier of people out there who want to play Old World well and want to strive to deal with problems like illusion wielding dragons, because that's how I want to deal with dragons. But anyway, no fair taking illusion dragons. You're not allowed to do that. That's our lore, okay? That's our lore, non-dragon players. But regardless, seeing that on the table, you don't need to commit the 3 hours. You can watch pieces of it. But also, to me, seeing people play the game competitively and collaboratively, which is all I like. That was my pure experience at TSN. That was my experience last night on the my first matchup in the Warhol tournament in the SBOT. Is you get to see people demonstrate how you can play this game seriously, with all of its weird intricacies and all of its gray areas, without devolving into some sort of flame war and being upset and playing two human beings collaborating on a really interesting game. And also, games that aren't much fun are also super interesting, and that is also fun. So when he was confronted with that scenario, I assume he didn't just quit. He tried to figure out how to get out of that. And as an armchair general, someone watching that, maybe you can see a play that they didn't, and now you have an idea of how you might confront that situation. I think there's so much stuff for the people who are interested in those things to learn from these battle reports. So I hope this can work.
Absolute shout out to Jack. He didn't win the first turn, so he's running that Empire gun line, or whatever. Then
all the guns.
Then doesn't get first turn, so the dragons all move up turn 1. He's like, oh, absolutely no problem. Absolutely no problem. I'm going to fire these 3 cannons. I'm going to absolutely smash that Casket of Souls. First one hits, rolls a 1 to wound. Second one hits, rolls a 1 to wound. Third one, doesn't even hit, and he's just like, fuck me, But just to talk about
artillery life, baby.
So just to talk about Matt's winning list that he was running the Bone Zone. He was running Old World. He was running Tomb Kings of Khemri. He's running the Mortuary Cults list. So you got the High Priest level 4 wizard on the Bone Dragon with the Law Familiar, the Serpent Staff, Talisman of Protection, and running Illusion. Then another High Priest with Hand Weapon level 4 wizard general on the Bone Dragon, Earthen Rod running the Warding Splint and Necromancy. Then a Mortuary Priest who's a BSB. Then he had 4 Tomb Swarms, 3 Necro Serpents, 8 Ushpati with great bows as core. That's spicy.
Interesting. Well, they're a good point sink for a core spend. My boy Caleb also running with some Ushpati.
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 Then Tomb Scorpion, Tomb Scorpion, Tomb Scorpion, and then 2 Casket of Skulls, which, from everything I can see, I don't understand how they're 135 points. That's all I've got. The Casket of Souls. Don't understand. Absolutely Care Bear staring people to pieces, which is fun. And the rest of the event was really nice.
Scorpions at 70 points, also for real.
Yeah, for real. Warriors of Chaos. Andrew Evans running his Warriors of Chaos, which are great. Richard Manclo's Kingdom Bretonia. And then Dom in a draw for the final, which is fun because Dom did his first event 3-4 weeks ago and then came back almost and hit the 4-1 with his Dwarven Mountain holds, which was really good.
Hell yeah.
Really good. Shout out to a match I saw him playing against Hormus with his Warriors of Chaos, where you know when you see, so he had his Dwarven line, and behind the Dwarven line was a Chaos Dragon, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, and then Dom is charging backwards, not actually backwards, you can't charge backwards, but he's had time to completely 180 his blocks of dwarfs and then charge the dragon, and I come over and I've got a good table, I can table read quite well, and I was like, I don't know how this would have ever happened. And then Hormus was like, I rolled stupidity, and then I failed it a lot, and I was like, oh shit.
on the gifts table. Yeah.
Okay. So that was really fun. So it was a really good event. I think it was fun. Just to do one more thing, show some people online some pictures. There was shout out to Mark. So Mark Bortland, absolutely lovely fella. Second time he's been. He was running an old by me standards, old as me, Orcs and Goblins army. I didn't even know the model that we're looking at was even a Games Workshop mini. I was like,
a Citadel mini?
It's something that was light. Apparently, the stamp on this is 1984.
Okay. So this is as old as Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Yeah, this is old as shit, which is fun. And then he had himself a bunch of old orcs as well. And then
those guys,
really old. I think a Grom the Paunch as well. And then
can we go back to those orcs? So, like some Uruk-hai vibes going on there. You feeling that?
Yeah, in the OG, yes, absolutely feeling that as well. These are old. Yeah, I think that's pre-Warhammer. I don't know. It might be, but it's old is my point.
Where's Louise? Call Louise in. Let's get an assessment of what these actually are.
These are old, which is great. And then the coolest army was Hormus's army, which is this absolutely amazing converted Warriors of Chaos. So he's using like one of the Sigmar dragons as his guy. He's using the guy on the right. So I'll do some close-ups. So this was a giant that he had in his army as well, which just looked great.
That is a great unclean one on like Blake King. What is his legs?
No, I think that's on oh god, what is he called? Glockin's body.
Glockin's that is Glockin's body, but he's so tall.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want. Oh wow. Okay. What a horrifying thing. Yes. More.
Yes, and then he's got his great converted dragon on here as well, which just looks really fun. So yeah, he won coolest army, which is fun in a really packed field as well. There were some really good other armies. Matt's who won the event, his army was really nice. Anyway, that was enough for that. Had a great event, lovely time. Armies were cool. We recorded some games. Maybe people will want recorded games of actual tournament results. We'll see. See the tactics. I got to say, I really enjoyed watching Andrew's game which is his Warriors of Chaos against Jack's Gunline. Watching him just hide everything behind a forest, pop out, cast a spell, pop back behind the forest and protect himself was really good, but also, tactical, But yeah, anyway, that's it. Anyway, but you played a game this week.
Well, last night, as a matter of fact, I played my first exhibition round against Smirk on the Warhalls. We actually made use of, and there's more resources that I intended, and I still can come together and bring out with some how-to guides. But this made use of the automatic generated battle report feature of Warhol, which I think is really neat, and also kind of illustrative too here of like some of the cool things that you can do. Another form of live battle report, which will show us the moves of the game and things like that. But yeah, I was playing I decided, I know I was mumbling about going back to like changing up armies, maybe going to demons. But the truth of the matter is, or I even talked about nomads. I was really fired up about nomads. But the truth of the matter is, I think good old Grand Army orcs and goblins, I ain't done yet. I ain't finished with these guys yet. Because I think there's just so much that they can do, and I haven't even come close to doing it. And I'm still so excited to tinker with my list and change things up. So in this game, I did change up some choices I've made in the past and went back on a few things that I said I wouldn't necessarily choose or do. So yeah, this is my new list. And already will be a different list.
All right, I'm excited. So what is it that made what's in your list? Because we can see it now on the screen. What is it that you flipped around?
So before I was running 2 wyverns. One of them was a level 4 wyvern with elementalism, and that idea started with a level 4 battle magic wizard, so that he could get double fireballs and just be like a gunboat sitting behind my lines shooting magic and stuff. And that's a pretty spendy unit. That's going to be 300 plus points on that unit. And what I found was a lot of the times that guy would just be chilling back there and not making 300 points of impact. And so I decided to maybe try going away from him, or maybe I took him for granted. I don't know. But I've gone now to, I have kept double caster, but I've got my vintage Black Orc War Boss. I've gone, also I realized that if my strategy for dealing with dragons is to try and control them with Lore of Illusion, then I better damn well have Miasmic Mirage in the list. I have done whatever I can to not choose Lore Familiar. I don't know why. I just thought, you know what? I'll just roll the 6 every time. This is a terrible idea, folks. If you need something to make your army work, you gotta go with Lore Familiar. And the reason why I wasn't necessarily doing that is because there are some really cool other arcane items that I love, like the Idol of Gork, which my second caster has, which gives you an extra bit of range and rerolls on casting. So I instead grabbed some power scrolls, which I'm starting to see pop up, and I was like, why are people doing that? Well, it gives you an extra d6 when you're casting, so it helps on those ones that really matter, like Miasmic Mirage is pretty hard to get off. I have 3 juiced up castings I can do with this Night Goblin level 4 wizard. And again, because these are going to be critical moments of I need to stop this guy from eating me, or I need this crystal column to be here, or I need an itchy nuisance to reduce the toughness. I think the Power Scroll Lore Familiar combo seems like a good way. And I actually noticed that this was the way the Empire player built theirs, so that's nice.
Yeah, so I tried to, on the Power Scroll issue, one of the things I tried to talk about, especially when I've done coverage of matches ever, is that sometimes people are a little bit upset by once per battle items or single use items, but the point is that most games have a pivot moment, and being able to give yourself an advantageous or an overtly advantageous position at that singular moment is great, because a dragon, isn't always charging into your valuable thing like you only have a most valuable thing, and it's charging in at that turn, and that's the turn to shut it down. So Power Scroll feels really good like that, and I think that like those fringe cases actually they're more relevant than we give them credit for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also, we always think about. I know me personally, I'm always obsessed with like the thing that you can always do. So like, is it better to, like in my head, it was better. Like, there's no point in having, miasmic mirage if I'm just rolling 2d6 at it and I gotta get a pretty big number, right? So I always wanted to be able to reroll that, and so that's why I was always bringing the reroll arcane items for the night goblins. However, doesn't matter if you can re-roll it if you don't have it. So I went to Lore Familiar and realized that Power Scroll still gave me the ability to juice that a little bit if I needed to. And then outside of that, the list has like that freed up a lot of points, dropping that Wyvern guy. So I still have my big brick of 18 Black Orcs with the big red raggedy flag. I still don't really know what I'm doing with them. They tend to not do a ton, but they're important because they're like the center of my line. They feel important. But again, I'm willing to question everything at this point. I've got 2 units of 25 Night Goblins. I've now even taken the standard out and I've dropped them another 5. So they're like, I'm trying to get to the absolute minimum Fanatic delivery unit possible. I'm of the belief that like you don't get the points for Fanatics unless you kill the unit because it's an upgrade.
That's what I've also said.
And also, I'm noticing some tournament packs ruling that differently. But I think basically if we all agree that that's how it works, that 75 points just go, like you just get that 70 points once the Fanatics are dead, then there's literally no reason to take anything other than units of 10 Night Goblins.
Yeah.
Like just little missiles of 10 Night Goblins would be all you need to do, and bring as many of those as you can. In our format, that would be 6 of them. I'm struggling to get a 3rd unit of Fanatics in, and I think I would like to, as we'll see. And then I've got my 2. I love my Squig Hoppers. I love them. There's 2 units of 5 Squig Hoppers, just completely naked, but with a boss in them. They're fantastic. And then I've also, it's not on here because it kind of broke, but I have 2. What are they called? The stone throwers with the flappy guys. Oh, come on,
Doom divers, baby. Doom divers.
Thank you. I've got 2 Doom Divers. So this is my first foray into artillery, but my thought was that like they're always going to shoot. Peter the Falcon tells me they're good, and he's been saying that since the beginning. And I have the 2 Mangler Squigs in here as well. That's not pictured. But basically, I'm trying to think of like they're always going to be maybe doing damage. And they're strength 8. They're -3 AP. They can pick on large targets, and I don't know. They seem like they have a chance if I'm not depending on them, but if I'm controlling. So like if I'm controlling a large target with my illusion magic and making sure that they're stuck somewhere, then it's possible I might be able to debuff them with Itchy Nuisance and then punk them with other things that I can shoot at them, like Fanatics and Doom Divers. So it was an idea of like putting some long range damage in there that it's just the thing with artillery is you can't depend on the damage, because there's like so many fail points on rolling for artillery.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the artillery is a really interesting point, but seeing it be effective and making people have to move feels very, very good. You got drawn up against vampire counts.
Schmirk is running vampire counts. Not quite the archetypal build right now, so he was kind. He ran a humble single Mortis engine. And he had his master. He's got another. He does have 2 level 4s, but the second Necromancer's on foot.
Yep.
It's not also on a Mortis engine. 1 Mortis engine is still a lot of Mortis engine. It does so much for the list. It's crazy. It provides a source of screams, as does the Tomb Banshee, who was
only 1
Tomb
Banshee as well.
Only 1 Tomb Banshee, but that's still a lot of Banshee. Not gonna lie.
It's 2 wounds. 2 wounds, but does so
2
much.
wounds, but ethereal. So one thing that did fall out of my list that I forgot and I took for granted was Ruby Ring of Ruin, which has Fireball, which is a magical shooting attack. Kind of necessary. So he was immediately like, "Oh, you don't have Ruby Ring? All right, cool. My Tomb Banshee can do what it wants." Literally, I have one thing in this list that could threaten it, and that's my War Boss. So I was like, good point. Got to get that Ruby Ring back. And then I've got then he had a White King who I didn't quite get, but this White King is a crazy tank. He's got a 2-up armor save, I'm pretty sure, a 4-up invuln, and either a 5 or a 6-up regen. So he's just layers of saves.
Yikes!
He's only 3 wounds, but he is major yikes. You'll see what he takes to the face later on while debuffed. Sucked. I did not like it. And then you have 12 Black Knights. The 3 units of zombies at 24, so they can still be juiced up, and then 2 Terror guys. So we got a total of 4 Screams, 1 brick of Black Knights instead of the So that's the list I'm going up against. It's mostly worrying about the Screams.
I think just to let everyone know, because if you don't know what the situation is with the Screams, you roll 2d6 over the leadership of the unit that you're screaming into, which can be done into combat. If I was going to make one FAQ today for Old World, I would say that that the Screams can't be done into combat. I think that would immediately change the efficacy of these lists, my personal opinion. I think that would be a good change. Just make it like a normal shooting attack.
So so yes, Screams have always sort of been able to do that for some reason. But one thing that it also has is it's not just, so basically it's if they're within 8 inches in the shooting phase, they say, that guy, take a leadership check. I take the leadership check. As much as I fail that leadership check by, so say I'm leadership 8 and I roll a 12, I then take 4 wounds. The issue is I'm probably not leadership 8. Immediately you're -2 to your leadership, so that's a rule I think that's a little over the top. So the Scream itself has a built-in -2 to the leadership, built in. So straight up, I'm now immediately at leadership. What would that be? 6, and then these are necromantic undead folks. So they got the lore of necromancy. So they've got oodles of ways to debuff you, both from an area of effect, which we'll see, which will get you a -1. He didn't roll up, or he didn't get the I can't remember what it is, but it's either another -2 or -1 on a specific unit for leadership. So like basically you could be -5 pretty easily rolling that leadership check and just eating it. And I ate it pretty good at different points in this game to the Screams. The other thing, like that area of effect spell that Rob has loved since we first did the Magic review, and understandably I can see why. It's also preventing you from using your inspiring presence from your general. Mm-hmm. So you're just at your base leadership. It's pretty ruthless. So this is a handful of a list. Let's see how we put it on the table.
Oh yeah, so this is using the Warhol software, right? Is this what's happening?
So this is an automated battle report. So this is something that you can do basically when you're playing. If you look at on the left side of the screen, we're not going to see it on this screen, but I'm just saying when you're playing in Warhol, you'll see right where you're rolling to the right of it. Essentially, before you start your first turn after deployment, you can say who got first turn, and then you click go. And then basically as you pass each turn, it takes a screenshot and will show you what has changed over the course of that turn. So we did this, as you can see, because the spell, what is the name of that spell? Oh, bloody hell. The area of effect spell, the Vortex, has already been deployed. So we actually did this a little bit late, but not too late. It'll show you deployment. So here we have the units of zombies arrayed against me. The Terrorgeist, he's got 1 Terrorgeist, immune to Fanatics, because he's chilling in a forest. If you don't want to get hit by Fanatics, just chill in a forest. And then I deployed, essentially thinking, as I often do, I had my Night Goblins. Where's the other unit? The other unit in here, maybe I don't have it on the table yet? That's weird. There should be a Night Goblin unit on the right side, gonna go up through that forest to try and like drop some Fanatics into the choice units, like those Black Knights. And then I've got 2 Lord of Illusion Wizards. I also adopted the lots of drops so I can counter deploy idea. So I feel like I have my Illusion Wizards in good places to make plays for me, because they were able to deploy after his army was on the table. So I knew where to put them. I think that is actually a nice basic piece of tech that people can use. So we can just start scrolling forward, and I'll try and narrate as best I can. He gets first turn. And maybe that's, yeah. So you can see his Tomb Banshee comes out in the middle there. And it's got a Spectral Steed on him. One cool thing that he was doing is that he was using the Spectral Steed on the Tomb Banshee, so that makes him fly 10. but he cast it from the Mortis engine. So the Mortis engine is something that's going to be hanging back and buffing his units and stuff far away from where that Tomb Banshee winds up. So it actually became kind of hard for me to remove the Spectral Steed off of the Tomb Banshee because of where he positioned the caster that put it on. Spectral Steed is a remains in play spell. So it was sort of hard for me to get anything but a faded on it, and that actually caused me issues, which is all good learnings. And then, so yeah, he was cautious. He didn't come racing out against me. He didn't, force the issue. He didn't make that like just go YOLO thing at all. He waited for me to make a move or do something.
Yeah. Okay. Next up.
Yeah, sure. So here's my turn one. And essentially what I'm trying to do again is just get some stuff up to control the scenario. I'm trying to protect myself from screams with the crystal columns by holding them off. I've got in the forest on the right. That's actually where my night goblins are. Maybe that's why you can't see them. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to bring my black orcs up because they will then go into that debuff bubble and be very vulnerable to screams. And also one thing too is that because leadership is so important, it made me be real reluctant to engage with my black orc here because I wanted to try and keep his leadership bubble on people. So that way, if they weren't being affected by the vortex, they could at least have a little benefit from that. And I don't know if that was the right call or not.
And just to remind everyone at home, vortexes are really difficult and challenging to get rid of because normally you can put them out at quite a distance away from your caster, and your caster has to be within range of their caster to be able to shut down the vortex, which is maybe something we could see get FAQ'd in the far future. Don't think that would be a bad change.
I actually really enjoy it from a tactical play perspective. It's something that you do have to make note of, though, because you have to be planning to dispel that in your next magic phase, and it's at the start of the phase that you do that. And you can still take a punt at it with a faded dispel, and you only have to tie the casting value. But this is, I think that particular one is 9 to cast. So on 2d6, that's like a third of the time. Maybe you might get that. So it's not super good odds. We can just keep going because I'm basically creeping up with my fanatics in the forest. I don't know why they didn't show up. That's interesting. And then so what do we have here? So I basically he dispels the crystal column, so he gets rid of it, and then he is able to move up and take out the unit of squig hoppers. And somehow the Black Knights don't kill the Mangler. That was great. I really enjoyed that. And now I feel like I've got a good chance to get some really quality, again, in that forest on the right, some really quality fanatic hits on it. I'm trying to get myself in a situation where I can debuff and get fanatics on the Terrorgeist to the left. And I'm just not even thinking about the one on the right now. And then some pivotal things start to happen, I think, in the next turn. So we can go turn 3 for me. So no, let's turn. Well, one more. So go to my Smirk's turn 3. Here we go. No, Smirk's go one back. Turn 3 Smirk. Turn 2 Smirk. What happened? We're missing something. Sorry, I'm watching it delayed. My apologies. So yeah, I guess that's turn 2 Smirk. So what? He takes I think he loses a model to a dangerous terrain check. He kills that unit. He kills the Mangler Squig with the Tomb Banshee. And then let's go to my turn 2, I guess. Because I go second. There we go. All right, so this is where things I thought would go better. So right now, for whatever reason, the Night Goblins are invisible, but they're in the middle of that forest, and I have a perfect setup shot now with my Fanatics to go across through the White King. I figure he's dead, no problem. 3d6, guys, that's going to kill him, and then 3d6 into the Black Knights. Those are the things I want to hit with Fanatics. That White King tanks all of the Fanatics that go through him. I think I wind up killing maybe a handful of the Black Knights. Basically, my Fanatic play completely whiffs. I only did get -1 toughness on the White King, so he was toughness 6 because he also had +1 toughness. So he's T5 base, and he had +1 toughness from an item. So now I'm like, my plan has not worked super great here, and he's got a free charge essentially at my caster in the bottom right corner there, which I will flee from. However, I'm still not like this game is over, because I did get my crystal column off. I'm holding back those black knights. I just got to make sure my caster lives. We go to his turn. I will wait patiently. Beautiful. So here he goes. I run away from his charge into my caster on the right side. He survives. It's great. I'll rally and cry him back. But now because it was a failed charge. Because I ran away and then he went his full distance. He's like safe because he's past what my warlord could do. So I should have probably protected him a little bit more by twisting my warlord around. What other amazing things happen on this particular turn? The Tomb Banshee comes down and screams the hell out of my Night Goblin unit on the left, which has not deployed yet any sort of fanatics. So that was scary, because I was like, I'm not gonna get my fanatics off with these guys. Also, now my caster on the left side is exposed. But again, I'm still not feeling like I'm screwed here. Like things still feel like they can happen for me if I can get a nice debuff in on that Terrorgeist and basically rally and marching column up. In the next turn, however, so we'll go to my turn 3. What we see here is, what's that? My warlord is dead, because I believe in his turn 3 he comes up and he screams on the right side. My black orc. This is actually saved after into his turn. I forgot to click the save. But essentially what happens is I commit my black orcs into his unit of black knights and my black orc on the wyvern. He then comes up and he screams at the black orc on wyvern with both his Terrorgeist and his Mortis Engine. I rolled an 11 on one of them.
Oh dear.
He lost 5 wounds and he was at -1. So anyway, he lost 5 wounds. Basically, he dies to some pretty nice screams. There's a cool thing that happens on the left though, where my fanatics do survive. My caster survives. So again, I feel like I've got a chance. But I fully whiffed on all my fanatics trying to get that Terrorgeist. They do get 3 wounds on them, but that's about it. So it's around here that I'm feeling like things are over for me. But his Mortis Engine, at least, so if we go, so in his turn 4, his Mortis Engine is now at least confronted by the Black Orcs, who had a chance to maybe charge him in my turn 4. Unfortunately, I'm going through this vortex, which stays there the whole time. I failed to dispel it the whole game. That vortex never moved. And it wasn't that I wasn't trying. I just wasn't able to, even with my casters, dispel it. And so when the Black Orcs tried to charge into the Mortis Engine, which maybe would have given me a shot to get some points back, unfortunately, I rolled a 1, and they don't make it through the charge. He does politely blow up at some point his own the level 4 caster on foot. So I did get points for one of his casters, but in general, I lost control of this game, and I got rolled pretty good. But it was very cool because I didn't feel like I was basically out of it until roughly turn 4, and it was 11 o'clock, and decided to handshake it. Smirk was awesome. He was a really great guy to, again, that collaborative mentality. We were talking about sort of where we thought things were on the table the whole way through, talking about what the abilities were that we were using. I had fanatics. He had screams. Like, both of those are very powerful mechanics. I didn't feel like his list was impossible to overcome. But it was a really, really cool game because I haven't actually played that Scream style list yet. I've played a lot of zombie dragons, which are also super good. So it was a lot of fun, and I didn't feel like I was super out of it until the Black Orcs also failed to mulch their opponent. But hey,
is there anything you're going to change for the next time?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to keep iterating, tinkering. I'm going to hopefully get a bunch more exhibition games in before I commit to a list. I think I still like the Lore of Illusion idea. I'd love to get a 3rd unit of Night Goblins in the list, at least, just for more fanatics.
It feels like auto. Like, if I was writing a tournament list, that's what I'd start with.
Yes, and And I'm curious as to whether the Black Orcs are maybe the thing that I should start questioning a little bit. I don't know. But also part of it is on me for not getting a lot out of them a lot of the time. So yeah, I've just got to keep playing and figuring out how to play Warhammer, because it is so much fun at this stage, because even when I lose, I feel like, one, it's cool to see what my opponents are doing. Like, he did a bunch of things that were very, like, again, we're all learning. So, but he was very careful with his placement of his casters, which made me have to realize, I have to think carefully about being in dispel range so I can get rid of some of these vortexes. And I kept catching myself out. I thought it was just a really friendly, awesome game played with some, not easy lists. And I'll keep iterating and having a great time. I don't know. I had a blast, and I can't wait to tweak it a little bit more and see what I can come up with.
Oh, well, I love that. That's fantastic. I think it's interesting to see that match and the screams and their effectiveness on those large models. Maybe the screams are healthy for the game, keep dragons and other stuff at bay. But having seen them in action, especially with a reserve move, feels like they're a little OTT.
So that's actually something, too, that was happening in my favor there. So, again, he didn't roll up either of the additional spell that would have debuffed my leadership even more, in addition to the vortex and the -2 on the scream itself. So that was lucky. And he also failed to get, I believe that's Van Hel's, that allows him to... Hellish Vigor. Hellish Vigor is what gives you the reserve move. He failed to get that off in the first 2 turns. So that actually gave me space to operate, and I was able to control the Terrorgeist on the left side of the screen there with Miasmic Mirage, which I wasn't saying. So he wasn't able to move very far. The Terrorgeist doesn't really want to charge, but he can't march, and he also is -2 to his movement and was in a forest, so it actually kind of got him stuck. So that actually did work fairly well over there. But it's fun. Like, in my head, it's all about like how am I actually dealing damage with this list, and what are the things that are good at dealing damage. Fanatics obviously are exceptionally good, but there's a lot of RNG on them, because it's ultimately one Fanatic makes contact. It's D6 hits, right? So I was getting on some of those rolls some pretty low hits, and when you're not getting the low hits, when you're getting a lot of hits, you feel like you have like maximum ultimate power. In the game against Eric's Hobby Workshop, I had 6 Fanatics, all 6 doubled out. So 5 of them doubled out so that means when you release a Fanatic on that initial move, you roll 2d6. If it's a double, they just instantly die, and any subsequent moves, if you roll doubles, they die. In that game, 5 of them doubled out on their initial move, and 1 of them doubled out on their second move. So that can happen with Fanatics. So so the answer I think there is you probably need redundancy on them to actually get like consistent performance, or just handle the spikes.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I think people are just learning so much from the game. Like I've said at the top of the show, people are learning so much from the game at this point and this stage. That's why I think, again, it's quite funny. There's lots of online discourse. I'm like, put it on the table, lads. And they're like, no, I don't need to. I'm like, well, maybe you do need to. Maybe you do need to, because it's quite different, right? And I think that's...
And because we talked about this last I think last week, or maybe the week before. We're just talking about how there are a lot of swings. There's a lot of Warhammer shit that can happen. And I think a lot of people have forgotten about Warhammer shit, which is just dice, right? Blood Bowl is like that. We were talking about Blood Bowl, how it can turn on these very, very pivotal dice rolls. Fantasy feels like that a lot. So there were moments where, on average, things should have happened for me that didn't. And the same is true for my opponent. Things on average should have happened for him that didn't. And that made for interesting games as you roll with those punches. Because, when you roll the dice, you find out what actually happens rather than what should happen. And that makes for a really engaging game all the way through. I enjoyed it, even though it was it felt like it was a tough thing to be facing off against. I also, one other thing, probably should have shot at Terrorgeist the whole time rather than the Mortis Engine, because the Mortis Engine can heal itself. I should have gone for the isolated Terrorgeist on the left with my I don't know, I can never remember them. Their friggin' names. Doom Divers. Thank you. Because I think it's kind of like one of those things where you should just focus on something and hope you do the chip damage, but don't get distracted. You know what I mean? As long as you can shoot it, keep shooting it. And because I sort of changed focus. I went from the Mortis engine over to the Terrorgeist. I think that was probably dumb. I should have just focused on the one that I could have gotten something off of. And the Terrorgeist has 6 wounds rather than 8. Probably a better call.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. All right. So do you have another game lined up soon, or like?
I'll play as soon as I can. I like to play after 8 p.m. EST when the kiddos are in bed, usually during the week. Tonight I'll be doing Grim After Dark, so I won't be able to play. But, later this week, hopefully get another game in. And I hope to get to play you eventually. That'd be really wonderful. Mm-hmm. And I have IRL games. I got some local friends coming over on Thursday. So we're going to do a game night on Thursday, so I'll get actual models on the tabletop IRL.
Well, that's exciting. Okay, well.
In preparation for X-Planet Games.
X-Planet Games. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed the video and you've enjoyed the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Do leave some comments and let us know what you'd like to see us do in the future, what you'd like to see us cover, what you'd like to see us talk about, especially if you've got any questions for us. I think that would be really fun. So let us know about that. And then, Val, thanks very much for a fun show as always.
Thank you. And on the note of comments, that was me trying to break down a game as best I could there. But please let us know. What do you want to see in game breakdowns? Because we're going to have now, from Rob's live battle reports, we're going to have like actual footage. We can do the same with Warhol stuff, by the way, Rob. We could record some of the good matchups coming out of SBOT and do something similar. And then when we're breaking it down, what do you want to know about? Is that something that you want to see? Was that fun? And let me know what bonehead plays I left on the table there that you think could have made the difference for me. Would like to know. I can only play one game at a time, but I can get information from the brain trust out there.
Yeah, just become a better general thanks to all the input of all of the generals, or worse.
Or worse. One thing that's super cool and happened immediately once the tournament kicked off is that in much like TSN, it becomes like a place to hang out. I've been noticing in the SBOT Discord, so in the Patreon Discord, even if you're just a Patreon member and you're not a player in the square-based online tournament, you can go and you can spectate games. So I've been seeing games with 5-6 people in them, people just watching and listening to the players playing, which is also helpful in some ways. I know especially for beginner players, because there's more people there to help them with rules and things. As long as it's polite and welcome, there's no reason not to do that. The whole goal of the square-based online tournament isn't necessarily to get crushing competitive games. It's also, I think, to help knit together the patron community, which was already popping off, and get people to actually get to know each other in the voice channels and stuff. So feel free to lurk on some games and go watch and see people playing. They seem to be happening all the time.
Good. All right. Well, listen, loads of love to everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to end this with Games Workshop. If you don't release those dwarfs, I'm coming for you. Slowly at movement 3, but I'm coming.
Movement 3. But I will say this, Rob, I'm calling dwarfs for June. If you don't think AOS is happening until July, then I think dwarfs are in June. I think we'll see that pre-order before AOS then.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to see it.
What else would it be?
It wouldn't be anything good. That's what it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be my goddamn dwarfs. So thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you all soon. Goodbye.